We chose to do two special populations for our elementary level task force, and we chose both gifted autistic and gifted females, and the one that I worked on was gifted autistic. What I found is that characteristics of giftedness and autism spectrum disorder can sometimes overlap, which makes it hard to tell which issue comes from where, especially in the profoundly gifted. They really mimic autism. Studies have shown that there are in fact children who are both gifted and autistic, and they are unfortunately terribly underrepresented in gifted education. Identification of these students has to be approached differently than identification of typically developing gifted students. It is absolutely necessary to have someone on the identification team that is well versed in autism spectrum disorder assessments. Equally important is the use of assessment tools that are more forgiving of some of the more common characteristics of autism, like poor working memory and slow processing skills. The IQ test in its entirety is not a good indicator for giftedness for autistic students because of their specific deficits. However, it has been shown that the various subtests of the IQ score can be useful as a tool in a holistic portfolio. It's impossible to enumerate or give examples of the various assessments that might be good for these kids because autism spectrum is really unique in that each of their specific issues will require a different response. There's no sort of telltale common symptoms of autism. It varies, and so you really have to address those and assess those on a case-by-case basis. Studies have shown that these students are often highly gifted in math and reading, and their level of task commitment is pretty intense. Not only will they need appropriate programming, but if they find something they're particularly interested in, they'll probably also need heavily enriched curriculum to give them time to work on their obsession, as it were. Because of their relatively low processing speed, gifted autistic students will need much more time to learn information. They also have difficulty generalizing concepts into the next day's lesson, for example, and may have to have information repeated to them. And that's not because they're slow learners and didn't get it. It's because that's just one of the traits of autism, and you're going to have to repeat yourself. On assessments, they have been shown to have very high cognitive abilities, but they gravitate toward factual, literal material. It's really hard for them to grasp abstract concepts, and so they may need some additional programming in this area. The big indicator of autism spectrum disorders is the socio-emotional side of things. So these kids have a lot of unique needs in this area. They inherently often do not seek out friendships with peers, whether or not they are of the same intellectual capacity. They may be served well by having peer mentors in the classroom with them who are assigned the same materials. This way they have an opportunity to socialize over common ground and build those skills while still learning at the appropriate level. Chances are they will need pull-out resource time to work on any areas addressed in their IEPs for their autism. It's helpful to provide a quiet area in your classroom for them to go, as they can get overwhelmed and overstimulated very easily. Because of their unique social and emotional needs, it's crucial that these kids meet regularly with an individual counselor to help them deal with any issues they have that are outside the realm of a general education teacher. So we have that set up within our task force. The important thing to remember is that most often with the special population, teachers get caught up in remediating their weaknesses instead of focusing on their strengths and gifts. So we're going to have our teachers accommodate their diagnosis, but still deliver advanced instruction, and they're going to need a lot of professional development in this area. Working in conjunction with the gifted resource teacher, counselor, and autism specialist will ensure success for these kids in our classrooms.